Of course, Fortunato sees he's joking about something, but he's not putting things together since he's drunk. So it's a classic Gothic tale of revenge. Better than food, man. Good afternoon, welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I'm your host, Clifford Lee Sargent. Great to see you as always. This is one of the most famous American short stories by one of the most famous American authors. Probably one of the greatest tales of revenge ever written. An absolute masterpiece that I've loved since I was very young. And I'm certainly not alone. One of the greatest short stories of all time. One I continue to love more and more as I grow older. I hadn't read this in years though, so I'm thrilled to be reviewing it. Not much to see on the cover here, because this is a vintage collection, but this is The Cask of Amontillado. Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. In the Tales of Edgar Allan Poe collection from Random House, which is illustrated. This is a beautiful vintage edition. Yeah, wood engravings by Fritz Eichenberg, and they are quite stunning. The American author Edgar Allan Poe, of course, barely needs an introduction. Born in 1809, died October 7th, 1849, face down in the gutter, literally. Might have died a few days after he was found, but yeah, that's basically how the story goes. Only 40 years old. Under mysterious circumstances, nobody knows quite how he died. Wearing somebody else's clothes, I think, or his clothes were not his own. A short life, but one in which he produced enough brilliant work, in order to be remembered, I assume, until the end of time. Excuse this light, it's all over the place over here. There's like clouds moving back and forth, as you can see. There it goes. It's just... His stories were eerie, mysterious, gothic, romantic. Everybody's read Poe, I assume. And if you haven't, then please, you gotta get on it. Massively influential. You can't escape him. He's everywhere. He seems to have really set the standard, you know? He's like the blood of Western literature. He's essential. He was a poet as well as a short story writer. I don't know if he wrote a novel, actually. Maybe, but some other interesting things that I didn't know. He was also an athlete. Apparently a good one, and was a student at West Point Military Academy. Yeah. Athlete, soldier, almost soldier. He didn't graduate though. I think he dropped out. I think there were some financial issues or something, which they were kind of a recurring theme in Poe's life, unfortunately. I learned about that stuff from Arnold Weinstein, an American professor and expert on Faulkner. Brilliant guy. Really like him. Recommendation from friend and patron Josh. Thank you very much, man. In his lectures on the classics of American literature. Link below. I think he's terrific. I have to credit him with providing a lot of the information for this review, including most importantly to me, or what was most interesting to me, the humor to be found in this story. Which of course I definitely didn't get when I was a kid, and which I really appreciate now. Just a caveat, there will be spoilers. I mean, the story is so short, it'll take you 15 minutes. If you haven't read it, please go and just read that really quick and then come back and watch this. It takes place in Italy. It's about an aristocratic man named Montresor, or maybe fallen aristocrat, who takes his revenge on his kind of, what would you call it? Frenemy? Yeah, frenemy. I mean, that's a stupid word, but that basically sums it up. He's basically somebody who has insulted Montresor, doesn't know that Montresor's pissed, and Montresor has been obsessively crafting his revenge very methodically. Other guy has no idea. His name is Fortunato. He has somehow wronged Montresor. We don't know how, and we never find out. The story takes place during a festival in Italy. So, you know, everybody's partying, right? Everybody's drunk. So Fortunato is outrageously drunk and unsuspecting and dressed like a jester. Montresor is narrating the story to us. We're in the place of his accomplice or somebody he's relating the tale to who he trusts very deeply. He tells us that Fortunato is a quack in the art of gemmery and painting, but that as far as wine knowledge, he is in fact sincere. He does know wine. Like our narrator Montresor. Montresor comes up with this ploy, you know, he's gonna tell him this story that he's hastily purchased a bunch of Amontillado. Amontillado? A pipe of Amontillado. Amontillado? Which is Spanish sherry. But, in a moment humbling himself, is unsure of its authenticity, right? Therefore, he means to lure Fortunato down to his family's catacombs and take his revenge. You like how it got dark there? Yeah, that's good. Revenge. Wine is a major theme of the book, and you know, I'm a huge fan of wine. Over the last couple of years, perhaps unsurprisingly, because of the Rona, I got back into it in a big way. Thanks in part to Tim, a friend and fan and sommelier from Chicago. Shout out, man, hope you're doing well. So how does Montresor take his revenge on Fortunato? Well, in the most quintessential Poe-like way imaginable, he buries him alive. He chains him to a wall, and then he gets some bricks and mortar and he seals him up, brick by brick, deep under the earth in these catacombs, with nobody to hear his screams. Except, of course, himself, Montresor, who at one point even mockingly returns to them. So on one level, it's a disturbing story that fits right in with Poe's other work, his famous stories like The Telltale Heart or The Black Cat, both with narrators who have a tenuous grip on the last thread holding their sanity together and commit murder in grotesque manners, all the while, confessing it basically to us, the reader. And then hiding the corpses. In The Telltale Heart, it's beneath the floorboards. In The Black Cat, it's the man's wife is behind a wall. A couple other Poes feature the premature burial motif as well, those being The Fall of the House of Usher, which I actually have not read in a long time. I don't even remember how that goes. I should really revisit that. And as one might guess, his short story entitled The Premature Burial. Pretty straightforward. I know next to nothing about wine, really, I don't, but I'm really intrigued by it. I'm kind of like glacially reading the Wine Bible by Karen McNeil. It's very thick. I recommend that. I'll link below if you're interested. Wine Folly is also a good one. And a book that Tim actually sent me, which I'm considering reviewing. I'm just not sure if there are as many wine enthusiasts as I'm just not sure if everybody would be interested. So if you are, please leave a comment below. But it's called Reading Between the Vines by Terry Thies, which looks like a very interesting book. I think it's just kind of like a partially autobiographical kind of a meditation on wine and what makes it great. So if there's anybody who has some input on Amontillado or sherry, I'd be really interested in knowing more. If you could leave something in the comments. So Amontillado, from what I know, from what I've read, is a Spanish sherry, a fortified wine like port, which I prefer actually. I've had both. I don't think I've had good Amontillado. And I definitely don't think I had Amontillado in Spain, which God, that sounds nice right about now. Or port in Portugal. I never had port in Portugal. Or did I? No, I had the cherry liqueur, where Anthony Bourdain went, where they spit the cherry, they downtown in Lisbon, they take the little shots of it, and they ginja. It's so great, and they spit the pits out. Man, I miss that guy. Damn, Jesus, how bad things have gotten. Anyways, port. I love port. Portugal is famous for port up in the Porto region. Fortified wine means that the wine is made with more alcohol, with added alcohol, basically, like brandy with port, to give that sweet flavor. It's fortified with it, right? It's stronger. It doesn't produce a crazy high level of alcohol, but a little bit more. So originally it was done to keep the wine from going bad, right? Just add more alcohol. But these styles developed, so. But be careful. Drinking port is not, it doesn't take much, but good port is, well, it's marvelous. You ready for a wine snob comment about the book? So, in the book, to try and prove his superiority, he's already getting drunk. Fortunato says of this guy, Lucchesi, this fellow that Montresor has told Fortunato he was going to, originally, to verify the Amontillado's authenticity, and then he ran into Fortunato, but he was saying, he's going to go see Lucchesi. And Fortunato says that Lucchesi cannot tell Amontillado from sherry. That was confusing to me, but yeah, indeed, as Wikipedia confirms, yes, Amontillado is sherry. Hence, the line reveals either Fortunato's incompetence or a severe state of intoxication. Speaking of intoxicated. So yeah, one major thing about this story that I didn't realize when I was younger, it was pretty disturbing when I read it. It's actually very funny. Poe is throwing jokes in here like crazy. At one point, Fortunato has this cough, which Poe actually goes and writes out, right? He goes and spells it out excessively. And Montresor tells him, he can't be responsible for his death, and they should turn back. Fortunato says he won't die of it, the cough. And Montresor replies, true. because he's gonna kill him. So yeah, there's tons of dark humor in here. It's all a buildup. It's all giving you hints, right? Fortunato is he's asking Montresor about his family's coat of arms and their motto. In Latin, it's "Nemo me impune lacessit," which means no one provokes me with impunity, as in nobody's going to insult me and get away. It's a dark comedy, dude, and it's funny. So he gives Fortunato all sorts of clues, right? And Poe gives us all sorts of clues. Then Montresor actually shows Fortunato the trowel, you know, for like laying bricks that he has under his cloak. I should also mention that the Medoc wine that they're drinking, this nice bottle of wine, is from the Medoc region of France, and it's called de Grave, like grave, right? You know, so it's like, but yeah, then Fortunato makes this weird gesture, like with the wine bottle, something weird, you know, to see if Montresor is of the Masons, right, of the Freemasons. Montresor is like, "What are you doing?" I looked at him in surprise. He repeated the movement, a grotesque one. "You do not comprehend?" "Not I," I replied. "Then you are not of the Brotherhood." "How? You are not of the Masons?" "Yes, yes," I said. "Yes, yes." "A Mason." "You? Impossible." "A Mason," I replied. "A sign." "It is this," I answered, producing a trowel from beneath the folds of my roquelaire. "You jest!" he exclaimed, recoiling a few paces. "Be it so," I said, replacing the tool beneath the cloak, and again offering him my arm. He leaned upon it heavily. "But let us proceed to the Amontillado." And so he actually shows him the trowel under his cloak, the one with which he's going to lay the bricks to wall him up. Of course, Fortunato sees he's joking about something, but he's not putting things together, since he's drunk. So it's a classic Gothic tale of revenge. And it starts like this. "The 1,000 injuries of Fortunato I had borne as I best could, but when he ventured upon insult, I vowed revenge. You, who know so well the nature of my soul, will not suppose, however, that I gave utterance to a threat. At length I would be avenged. This was a point definitively settled, but the very definitiveness with which it was resolved precluded the idea of risk. I must not only punish, but punish with impunity. A wrong is unredressed when retribution overtakes its redresser. It is equally unredressed when the avenger fails to make himself felt as such to him who has done the wrong." Oh, it's great. Classic. Classic. Poe nails the atmosphere, right? It's just pitch perfect. The Italian festival, the subterranean catacombs, the flambeaux, which are a kind of torch, you know, that they're both carrying leading down the spiral staircase, the wine, the talk of blood and ancestry and lineage, the Freemasons, and madness, you know? Because Montresor does indeed seem insane, or at least overcompensating, understatement, for a possibly perceived slight. Who knows? We have no idea. We have no idea. That's kind of the genius of the short story. Nobody knew except Poe. I would highly suggest just picking this up and checking it out. There's just something about it that gets everything right. Everything. You know, I know nothing about Freemasons. I should really look up the history on that. Yeah, I know nothing about them. That's really fascinating. A lot of Poe is good, but some of it is difficult to read. There are several stories I enjoy by Poe, but I don't always enjoy his style. But this is my favorite by far, and I can read this one over and over again. I mean, it has everything I love, you know. Yeah, it's perfect. So if you've never read it, I implore you, pour yourself a glass of wine and try the Cask of Amontillado. Amontillado by Edgar Allan Poe. Better than food. So you should read this. Everybody, but especially if you're a fan of Baudelaire or Borges or H.P. Lovecraft or Kafka. They were all big fans of Poe, and this one is essential. Yeah, there are these acts of deranged cruelty in Poe that are so iconic, so idiosyncratic. And you can really see how Kafka took that and ran with it in his work, for sure. As I've gotten older, I can really see that now. And Flannery O'Connor, too, I bet, was probably influenced by Poe. Yeah, but Poe has such a weird, warped sense of humor, too. Yeah. Apparently, according to Wikipedia, Baudelaire's translations of Poe, because he did translate him, became the standard for continental Europe, which I thought was very fascinating. Yeah, very cool indeed. So what did I dislike? Not a thing. It's perfect. It's magnificent. And just to make it clear, the Amontillado never shows up. There was no Amontillado. There never was, as far as we know. And now, it is coffee time. Thank you very much, all the patrons, and best of luck. Okay, here we go. Timothy, Timothy A. Thank you very much, Timothy. You're going to receive the Cask of Amontillado and many other short stories by Edgar Allan Poe, plus some delicious coffee. Hope you enjoy. Thank you so much. Please subscribe if you haven't already and hit the thumbs up if you enjoyed this, and always remember, die reading. All right, take care of yourselves. Have a good night. Talk to you soon. Ciao. I'm drunk and blind.